Hello, hello, good morning, everyone. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Um, we are still waiting on our guest, but just like in homeschool, we keep it moving. We keep it moving. And hopefully, if I don't get a chance to chat with our wonderful guest today, then we will chat with her at some point this month, Lord's willing. All right, so I want to welcome you back. I want to welcome you guys back. I am so excited. This is season two of TC Talks. And I am Trina Ferguson of Trina Cares, where living, learning, and loving come together to help you with your educational needs. So if you're here joining us, let me know who you are, where you're from. What are you doing? Like, good morning, Nicole. Good morning. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. We're not able to get our guest on right now, but you have me. You have me this morning. So, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in because you guys have been patient and have waited for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in, and hopefully we'll be able to meet up with one of our guests with our guest today. If not, then we'll work this thing out. Let's see if she's here. So before we go ahead and introduce her, um hopefully we can go ahead and be able to meet her this morning. I see that she's waiting, so I'm hoping this works. Oh, I think she can hear me. All right, guys. Yay! All right, so I'm going to introduce you to the fabulous Mrs. Anita Gibson in just a few, but I wanted to talk to you real quick about the wall. What is the wall? So, guys, way back when I was in high school, I used to run track. That was one of the many things that I did in high school was run track. And when I was running track, there was something that we would call the wall. And we always knew when someone hit the wall. And so when someone hit the wall, it just meant that they literally this normally happened when we ran like maybe the 400 or the 800 or anything else. Hi, Latoya from Bowie. So normally that's really when it happens. So if you ran track, go ahead and drop a line, let us know, drop a comment. I ran track, I know about that wall. So the wall, you're literally running. So I used to do the 400 and the 800. And anything under that, anything over that, it just wasn't going to work. But the 400 and the 800, there was this one point on the track, like you're running around and you get to that one part where it is the last 200 meters, and you're running that curve right at that 200-meter mark is when most people began to hit the wall. And the wall was simply, I know I'm moving, I can feel myself moving, but for some reason it just felt like you were running against something. You were pushing against something. And your form began to use a lot of times, especially if you're a beginning runner, your form begin you start to lose your form. You're starting to, like, your head goes back and you're literally like praying at that point. Even if you ain't know God, you were praying at that moment to get through that wall. And then once you got over that curve and that last 100 meters, something kicked in. But normally during that 200-meter, you would hear people yelling and screaming, "You can do it," encouraging you. And that's what ends up happening when you are on that wall on the track. And then that last 100-meter, it is just like you give it your 100% and you just kind of give it your all, and you end up winning the race, right? Or even if you come in last, you finish. So the wall, when I started homeschooling, every year I would hit that same moment where I felt like I was moving. I knew I was alive, but I was praying and asking God to help me get through this or help me finish this. Like, help me just be like, you know what? Give me the sign to throw in the towel, and I will throw in the towel. And every single year, this wonderful, wonderful woman that God had placed in my life would say to me every year, "You are not alone. This happens to everyone. So we are going to introduce to you the wonderful, fabulous Mrs. Anita Gibson, and she will talk to you about how to overcome that period of time. And she'll even tell you normally when it happens. So I'm not going to tell you because I want her to tell you when it happens, and I want to see if you guys feel the same way. Whether you are homeschooling, whether you are in your business, if you're an entrepreneur, no matter what it is, whether you're teaching in the school system, at some point you may hit that wall. And I'm going to see if that wall is at the same point. I see Cass Lacey. I'm not going to give it away, but I am feeling you, girl. I am feeling you. So, all right. So here we go. Anita Gibson in 3, 2, 1. Are you there? Yay! We have you. I'm so excited. I was over here praying. I was like, Lord, work it out. Because I can give my guests what you have given to me, but man, oh man, when they hear it directly from you, it is literally like God himself just reached down and just, sat with you and said, look, you can do this. So I want to go ahead and I want you to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself before you tell us when the wall happens.
Absolutely. So I'm Anita Gibson. I'm a coach, speaker, educational strategist, and author of the book Starfinder. My husband and I homeschooled our 3 children from kindergarten through 12th grade. It took us over 20 years, and I am committed to stay in this thing to help other moms to know, that they can do it, and to be honest and tell my vulnerability stories, so that that there were days when we didn't do homeschool like we were
Mhm.
supposed to, and there were some subjects that got left off some years. And people, they don't want to talk to you because they don't want to tell you the real deal, but once you kind of unpack the fact that we're all struggling
Yeah.
just in different ways, it makes it a lot easier. So speaking of this wall, every year about February, for like February, for some people it's March, and for some people it's January, but right in that time frame, I would find myself telling the kids, you're going back to school. I can't do this anymore. They'd never been to school, but it was like, you getting out of here.
Yes.
And so about the 3rd year, I was like, this keeps happening. I keep hearing myself saying this every year at the same time. And then I began to realize, oh, this is a pattern.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the homeschool blues, and
Uh-huh.
then I started talking to other moms, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm feeling like that too. The kids are less motivated. I'm less
Yeah.
motivated. I feel like I don't even want to homeschool anymore."
Mhm.
And this is
Mhm.
a very dangerous point because some
Yeah.
people quit
Yeah.
right here,
Yes.
and they actually quit prematurely
Yeah.
because it wasn't that they were supposed to stop. It was they didn't know they were hitting that wall.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And Mrs. Gibson knows, Anita knows that February. So Cass, yes, you are absolutely February for me, it was like, oh, this is not good. And again, I would literally come to her office and just be like, yeah, I can't do this. This is not for me. This is just not for me. So when someone comes into your office and it is around February, and they are just saying, this is not for me. I can't do this. I'm pretty sure you've seen me cry. You've heard me cry, definitely. So what do you tell that person? What do you tell that mom? Or even that dad who may have hit that wall? What do you tell them? And then after you talk to the parents, is there something, do kids also hit that same wall?
Absolutely. So one of the first things I tell them is you're not alone. Other
Mhm.
people are experiencing this. And then I
Yeah.
tell them what my theory is on why. Because there's all this momentum in the summer to get your program together, and you finally find your
Mm.
curriculum, and you get your tutoring system, and you find your co-op, and so now we're getting started September. Okay, it takes us about 4 weeks to get into a flow. About October, well, we're feeling pretty good. Take a little break about Thanksgiving, and then Christmas hits, and all of those
Mhm.
regimens and things we had in place, they go to the wayside and everybody
Yeah.
takes a break. And then when you come back in January, it just doesn't feel as exciting. It's not as
Yeah.
sexy. It's not as, it's not as interesting. And you don't feel like getting up in the morning because you've been off for
Yep.
2 weeks.
Mhm.
And you, to be honest, you never really fully get back that
Okay.
momentum that you had at the beginning of the school year. And
Yeah.
so, what I'll usually, will tell someone is this is a time to shift.
Okay.
This is not a time to keep doing what you've been doing.
Nice.
And so the wall is telling you, um, try simplifying things.
Hmm.
The wall is telling you, let's add some fun and some games. Let's streamline some things. Let's throw out some stuff that we know is not working, but we paid $100, $200 for,
Yes.
and we're like, we're using this, but
Yes.
it's not working. And you know, um, one of the things I tell homeschool moms is failure is not changing curriculums. That's actually
Okay.
wisdom. After you've used it for several weeks, a couple months, and you see it's not working, it's not
Yeah.
failure to put it down and find something else. It's actually wisdom
Okay.
to know that it's not working. So when your children are coming to you, they're feeling it the same way. And
Okay.
so one of the first things I did is I let my kids know I feel just like you do. I don't want to do school.
Mhm.
What makes you think that I feel like checking papers and putting lesson plans together, and I don't feel like doing it either. So
Yes. Yes. I
so you kind of have to have have to have a family meeting
Yeah.
and say, look, this is where we all are
Right.
right now. Let's be real.
Right.
Now, what can we do? And then even involve them. How can we make our school a little simpler? How can we do some fun things? What's one subject maybe we can just let go of for right now?
Okay. Okay. I love that. I love that. It's funny that you should say, just be honest with them. Let them know, hey, I feel the same way. And it's funny because I literally just said that this week. And I told my oldest was just like, yeah, I'm just not motivated. I'm not feeling it. And I was like, what makes you think we want to do this all the time? And he was like, well, it's because y'all love teaching. I'm like, what makes you think? That's all I kept saying. What makes you think I want to do this too right now? So you also said that kids go through the same thing. Does it look different? Like, how can we identify that our kids at this moment are hitting that wall, and what encouragement can we give them outside of being honest with them? Number one, but what else can we do? And I'm asking a lot of things, and I'm like, oh, I want them to know everything that you know. but um, but again, like, how do we recognize that wall in our students, in our kids, and what else can we do to help them get motivated, especially right now with everything with the pandemic and things just don't look the same way for them? What encouragement do you give to them? And one, like I said, one, how do you recognize that they have hit that wall? And two, how do we help them during this period right now in our lives?
So, what it might look like for your child if they've hit that wall is they may be lethargic. They may feel a little quiet. They may be cranky. They may be not getting the same kind of grades that they were getting in the first semester. Some things like that will be kind of indicators that okay, we need to do something different here. And then some of the things that what was the other part of the question that you asked?
What else? What can we say to them to help motivate them during that time, especially right now where life just looks different for everybody?
So I learned because I didn't start out this way. I learned to talk to my kids a lot and to help them to understand what was going on, how I was feeling, and how they might be feeling. And with this pandemic, I mean, you have to be so gracious with yourself and with your children right now. Because if they're not feeling, some of the assignments, or the workbooks or the textbook, you really need to just take a break and do something different, because emotionally, all of us are in a very difficult place. Some of us handle it better than others, but this pandemic is like being in a war.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if this was, Rwanda, or if this was Nazi Germany, and we were in the midst of a war, we wouldn't be quite so focused on, well, you didn't get that math assignment done,
Good
or
point.
where's your writing? Because that's not what matters in a moment
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
And so I think, because it's kind of a hidden kind of war, I think sometimes we forget and we expect our children and from ourselves to just, things should be normal, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just impossible for it to be that way. And so, yes, there may be consequences down the road. We might have to redo some stuff. We might have to work through the summer. We
Okay.
may have to start over a subject in the fall. I don't know what it's going to look like,
Okay.
but our students, our kids' emotional uh, space
Yeah.
uh, is way more important, and you don't
I
want to
agree.
find yourself tearing them down. Why can't you get it done, or why are you being so lazy, or
Yeah.
those things that we say without thinking, when emotionally they can't hardly remember their name at
That's
times.
true. That's true. You are absolutely right. One of our guests, Artise Richardson, you know her well. She said, "Yep, my early my early bird now wants to sleep in late. That's so not like him. So would that be another sign that he might be hitting that wall at this moment? At this moment?
Absolutely. And so you work with where they are. You still get the things you need to get done, but you don't make it a judgment call. You don't have to shame them, because there's some things that are shifting. You begin to recognize they're actually trying to tell you something. Maybe verbally they cannot express it, but their behavior is telling you, we need to do something different, or I need to allow them to shift a little bit in this way, like sleeping
Yeah.
in a little later.
Okay. Okay. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. I thought so. One of the we mentioned February being a lot of people's moment, and Chartice said hers. She's hanging on for dear life right before Christmas break every year, and I know I'm gonna put this out there about her and I. I know coming off of the break, coming out of that Christmas break tends to be that oh, this is
Mhm.
awful. So it's like literally going into that we're leading into that wall, and we
Yeah.
know the wall is coming because it comes every year. So
Yep.
is there something we can do to prevent that? Not so we know what to do once we hit it, but is there a way that we can try to prevent it or make it less difficult when we hit that wall?
Well, one of the things you can do is plan your year out so that you know that in January, we're going to be shifting our curriculum. We're going to be doing more hands on. We're going to be simplifying. So maybe it's that first semester that we're just hitting it and we're jumping in on stuff, and knowing that that second semester is going to look different. It's going to be a little more laid back. Uh,
Okay.
and we're going to maybe need some more breaks. So we need to be talking to other moms, or our husband, our mother, somebody that's like, can you come over here, or can I drop the kids off, or, Chartice is amazing at taking breaks. She just does that so well.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
and so I think those are some of the things that can re-energize you, is to do those something that you love to do.
Okay.
It will help to kind of keep that balance in your day.
Okay, very nice. I love it. I love it. Definitely take more breaks. And I love the fact that you have to plan out your year and plan those breaks. A
Mm,
lot of times we just kind of come upon a break and we're just like, oh, all right, we need a break. We need a break. And if we know in our minds that, we are planning for those breaks, it
yes.
might actually ease that time, going into the wall.
Mhm.
One of the things when you're talking, I realized that so now we know how based on what you were saying, we now know what to look for when our kids are hitting the wall. But what I thought about was that kids are very, our young people are very intuitive. They definitely know what's going on. And I thought about it. My oldest, so Christian, I remember him saying every year, third quarter is the hardest.
Ah,
And our whenever we do our reviews, I think that's third quarter. Well, I mean, I'm like, oh, anyway, no matter whether it's first, second, third, or fourth quarter. But
right.
third quarter is third quarter is normally when I'm like, we don't really do as much. So I thought it was when you were talking, I said, we can recognize that now in our kids when they're hitting the wall.
Yeah.
But it made me realize that they know when things shift as well. They know when
Mhm.
things change as well. When we look at our review binders, third quarter is like this, and everything else is like this. So,
Exactly.
so yeah. But I definitely go ahead. Yep.
And one other thing too is field trips. This
Oh,
pandemic made
yes.
me forget about that. But we did so many more field trips, hands-on projects. We got out in the sun. I have some of my kids loved animals, so we would volunteer at the farms, Watkins Park and Oxon Hill Farm,
Yeah.
horseback riding. That was a time of year when, the aquarium, we just hit all of that stuff, and it just made such a difference.
That's yes, absolutely, and I know many of us are missing that right now.
Mm,
There
mm.
are still some things that you can do with your family, even if it's just in your neighborhood. The other day, my girls, I didn't go because it was too cold for me. So you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses, y'all. But but my girls were learning about Lewis and Clark expedition, and so my husband took them on an expedition in our neighborhood, and they had to draw the map and that kind of gave them something different to do, got them out of the house, and they got a chance to spend time with daddy, and I got a chance to spend some time with Trina. But
Yeah.
yeah, so even though it's difficult, there are ways that you can still do field trips. Are there things that some of your students do at your first of all, you're a director at a local tutorial.
Yeah.
So are there some things that you guys are implementing for them that's helping them during this time?
Well, we're right now, our whole program is online. And so, what's interesting about that is we're finding that some students are actually benefiting from being online because they're focusing more on their academics,
Okay.
because they don't have that social piece of the co-op, or the group classes. So one of the things that we committed to early on, back when this all first started, was becoming as interactive as we could online.
Yeah.
Like lecture is just like a no-no.
Yeah.
And so we work a lot with, trying to do projects, giving them assignments like you did with the girls going outside, where they're doing things that are not just textbook or sitting inside, completing worksheets and those kinds
Yeah.
of things. So I think just knowing, everybody's on screens right now, and so making sure that there are things that you're giving them, assignments and projects that are much more hands-on, has been a huge deal. And a lot of people are outside. Um, they're outside in the parks. A lot of people are,
Mhm.
are doing nature walks, and they're hiking, and even some of the drive-by parties
Oh,
that
yeah.
people are doing.
Yes.
We did our son and daughter-in-law are about to have a baby, and we did a drive-by baby shower, which was amazing. It was cold,
Yeah.
and so like you said, you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses. But his friends, their friends were coming to the house, and we're hanging out and we're talking. It's like you just gotta work with where we are. We were
Yeah.
social distance. We had masks on, but we weren't in our house. People weren't sitting down,
Right.
and they weren't staying long. They're coming in,
Right.
wishing them good wishes, and moving out. And so I'm watching people get more and more creative with how to celebrate,
Mhm.
with how to honor, and just with how to have fun
Yeah.
and get off the screens.
Yeah, yeah. I saw something during the quarantine that I thought was fabulous. And when you said field trips, it made me think of it. There was a group of children in a neighborhood that were studying different types of animals. And so what they did was they created their animal that they were studying and they put it in their window. And so
Oh,
what they did was they literally drove through the neighborhood like it was a zoo. And so they got a
oh,
chance to see the different animals. And I'm adding this part. I don't know if they did it or not, but I'm pretty sure you can have like a sheet with the different types of animals and just different
yes,
things like that, different facts. So yes, be creative, get
yes,
out there. I
yes.
wanted before we leave, I really want to address this. One of our guests said, "My second grader keeps having meltdowns. This must be her wall." What can she do to help her with these meltdowns?
Take a break.
Okay.
Just relax, sit with her. Maybe you're reading, or maybe you are doing more of these kind of field trippy out, go outside and look for stuff and come back in and look it up, and look at trees and birds, and maybe you come in and back in the house and you identify them. Just let it go. Her
Yeah.
behavior is telling you it's too much.
Okay.
And her being in second grade right now, you have such flexibility to be able to just take a break and reintroduce learning in some interesting and maybe more interactive ways.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Don't do what I did. And what I did was I actually laid on the floor right with them. And we both had meltdowns. That is that is the truth. Many times I laid on the floor right next to them and I kicked just like them
Okay.
and
And
had meltdowns just like them.
And one other thing too is it's an opportunity to actually teach her daughter about how she's feeling, and to help her to
Ah,
begin to be able to communicate that in ways. She might have her draw a picture of how, when you're having the meltdown, what are you feeling like? What does that look like? She might draw a picture, and it may be a sad face, or she may draw a picture of an object or something. But just to help her daughter to begin to identify, when this starts, does this just come on you all of a sudden? Or, you know, and a second grader is going to have a hard time figuring that out. But mom might want to start looking at comparisons and seeing if there's a pattern. Is
right.
it when she's asked to do the math, or is it, is it because we have this regimented schedule, or is it because she has a perfectionist spirit, and if she makes one
Mhm.
mistake, she just goes crazy? um,
Okay.
and so there's something called the Big Life Journal, which I absolutely love,
Mhm. Yes, I do. Yep.
and it really helps children to actually have a more of a growth mindset,
Mhm.
so that they say, okay, I can't get this now, but they say, I can't get this yet. Not I
Okay.
can't get this, which adds hope into the fact that I'm not doing it now, but I'm going to be able to do it. So I would recommend maybe checking into some of those things too to help.
Very nice. I love that, giving them that hope. I love that. And even with parents, we have to say the same thing instead of saying, "I
Yeah.
can't do this right now. I can't do this anymore." This is, changing your wording in your sentences, adding that hope. The hope talk is what I like to
Mhm.
say. So adding that hope talk will also encourage us as parents. So you have
Mhm.
a book, Starfinder. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that, and how do we reach you and how do we get the book?
Great. So Starfinder is a book that I wrote because our second daughter didn't learn how to read it well until probably about between fourth, fifth grade. And she had no learning disability. She just learned differently. And so she taught me so much about children and how we never compare them, how we honor the way that God has created them. And so Starfinder is a book with 12 principles, strategies that I learned that help our children to find their purpose in living, and each one of them is actually walking out what we began to see when they were little, and so I kind of document that and then give suggestions for how you can do that with your child. You can check me out at anitagibson.com, or I have a Facebook group called Simply Homeschool, which I would love for you to be able to come in and join. We offer encouragements, and it's really a place for mom to be encouraged because we spend so much time taking care of everybody else. And
Yes.
so this group for me is specifically to encourage moms and to let them know you are not alone. And what
Yeah.
you're going through as homeschool moms, we all are going through. There is no shame in whatever you do or whatever you don't do. It's all about acknowledging where you are and then moving on from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anita Gibson. We truly appreciate your wisdom. Thank you for joining us on TC Talks this morning. I love, just remember one of the takeaways that I want you guys to remember is to work with where you are and keep moving forward. I love that. So I'll make sure that I remind you guys throughout the week, work with where you are and keep moving forward. All
Yes.
right. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. And thank you guys for joining us once again for another season of TC Talks. And I will see you on the third Saturday of this month where we will talk about from break to break. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.